We've got another tutorial on the site that's a very basic introduction to kind of using a capo and just kind of how to place it and some of the basic reasons we use it. This tutorial is kind of a volume 2 to that. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into the theory behind how to figure out what actual key we're playing in. Because keep in mind, we use a capo to be able to play in keys that aren't good for guitar players, but use chord shapes that are good for guitar players. So for example, I can play something like this, a nice open progression. But then the singer says, hey, sorry, for my voice, it's better to play this in B flat. Well, if I was trying to play that in B flat, I'd have to do something like... which, you know, can be okay. That's a whole lot harder, and you don't get the same sound, right? That's a lot of bar chords. There's no open strings ringing out in B flat. So if we wanted to maintain that same feel for the song, we put a capo on the 3rd fret, and then we can go. Right, and we get that same feel of the open strings. I didn't place that capo very well, but we get the same feel of the open strings. We're playing in B flat, and we're getting to use chord shapes that we really like. So let's reverse it and say we're playing a chord chart that's got us playing capo 3 with G's, C's, G's, C's, D's, and E minor 7s, okay? Common chord progressions on the site. But we're capoed 3, and we're playing with a piano player that says, okay, I'm going to take a solo here. What key should I play in? Well, you can't tell them to play in the key of G because you're not playing in the key of G. You've got a capo on, right? You're playing key of G chord shapes. But the capo is putting us into a different key. So this is going to just be a quick trick that can get us to think about what actual key we're playing in, so we can tell the band. The bass player, you know, obviously isn't going to capo either, so he might want to play the song with you, and you can tell the instruments that aren't able to capo what key to play in. The first step is to kind of understand the concept or the basic keys of chords. So key of G chords, you know, G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, and G. So if we're playing G's, C's, G, D, E, A minor, C, D. Just made that up in my head, but if that was what the chord progression was, eventually we'd need to be able to recognize that those are all chords that fit within the key of G. So that's going to tell us that the song we're playing is in the key of G. A lot of times with songs, the first chord of the progression is a great clue to what key we're in, but that doesn't always work. This, for example. C2, G, E minor 7, D. You know, what key is that in? Well, we're starting on a C2, but it's actually in the key of G. We can know this because all those chords fit into the key of G chords. So once we determine that we're using key of G chords, what we can do is we can find a G chord, wherever the capo is, and find the root. So the root of the G chord is here. And now this all comes back to fretboard knowledge, right? We need to know how to name these frets. Let's pretend the capo's not on there. This is the root of the chord. So we're in the key of G, and this is the root of the G chord. Now we need to name that note. So we know that's the 6th fret of the low E string. And we, you know, eventually, as we progress with our understanding of the guitar, we need to know that that's a B flat note. And so, because we're playing key of G chords, and we named the root of our G chord as a B flat, we can know that we're actually playing in the key of B flat. So if someone wants to take a solo over this progression, you know, we're playing... you know, G's, C's, D's, and E minors. That's position 3 pentatonic in B flat. You know, so That is the quick way. It's more of a mental trick just to kind of figure out what key we're in. So let's do it a different example. Let's do a different example. Let's come up and we'll capo the 4th fret. Let's name the chords. We got a D chord here. Sorry, I messed the progression up already. D, A, G, D, walk down to a B minor, G, and an A. So again, if we know our keys of chords, we know that the key of D is a D chord, E minor, F sharp minor, G, A, B minor, C sharp diminished, and D. So we can know from just our knowledge of keys of chords that the chords we're playing in this progression are all from the key of D. So we're going to say we're playing key of D chords. We're playing in the key of with key of D chord shapes here, right? So once we determine that, then we're going to find a D chord. This is a D chord. Then we're going to find the root of the D chord. So what's that note, right? If this is a D, this is the root, and that is the open D string, which if we pretend the capo is not on the fretboard, it's that 4th fret of the D note. Oh, I'm sorry, the 4th fret of the D string. And again, once we get our fretboard knowledge to where we need it, the 4th fret of the D string is what? If we're going to name that, it's an F sharp. So right now, we're playing in the key of F sharp. We're using key of D chord shapes, but we're actually playing in the key of F sharp. So if we wanted to solo, right? F sharp, position 6 diatonic. So again, this capo is just letting us play nicer chord shapes. We're playing key of D chord shapes, but now we just figured out, because it's the key of D chords, we identified the 1 chord, a D chord, and then we identified the root of the D chord, and we named that note. It's an F sharp note, so we know we're actually in the key of F sharp. So again, this is just a trick basically, but it all comes back down to understanding keys of chords and being able to identify notes on the fretboard. And once we're able to do that, we should be able to understand that the capo is just letting us play chord shapes. But if we're playing with other people, we're going to need to be able to name the actual key that we're playing in so that they can play along.